Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I mean, I would not want to hear that. I would not. Oh, we got great this year at SPD.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome to Download. I'm back, baby. SPD.
Oh man, is it good to see
All
you again,
Elite
brother?
Wrestling. I was never gone. I was watching though from afar, but things happen. But I am back, better than ever, and what a show to see tonight. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the match card because those graphics that AEW does is just always spot on. I think we're still kind of buzzing this main event. It's kind of the Darby Allin we want to see as the champion. We'll dive deep into that, but this card was great. They kept emphasizing the whole time of two titles on the line, and both title matches I think were home runs. Really, honestly, well fought,
No
great
doubt.
storytelling. And this is, we were texting back and forth, and we did see the Elite, we did see the Pinnacle, we did see Inner Circle, but in ring, you're talking the core groups we did not see wrestle. And so this was a true test. I think, week 2, going solo on Wednesday, and I think they really nailed it, man. What'd you think?
I mean, brother, that was one of the things. Last week I was jonesing, right? I could tell last week AEW. You and I have noticed, right? They took the training wheels off now. Now all eyes are on Dynamite. They broke that 1 million viewer ratings last week.
Well deserved.
I was dying to talk to you about it, man. And that trend continues this week, but I think it's even more impressive because, as you talked about, it's really something that you opened my eyes to, is that, man, they really look at how deep this roster is, Crayfish. Look at just what a showcase of the depth that this roster has. You think about it. You mentioned countless of the top stars that we identify with Dynamite, and it didn't feel like it was a lacking show whatsoever. This was actually from top to bottom. We again, throughout the show, I'm talking to you, the people on social. This is another one of those shows where it felt like there was no foot off the gas. There was no coasting. Every match hit hard. Every match was really a banger. Everybody delivered tonight. It was, for me, what a great start to the show too. I mean, you start off with a bang and you have Hangman as your number one contender. And I know SPD, Ricky Starks is a guy that you are firmly behind. I mean, you really have been an advocate for just what a star this guy feels like, right? Just oozes that confidence, that swagger. I was waiting for you to bust out those moves, man. Every time we talk the absolutes, the stroke daddy, you have to bust out the guitar.
That's right.
And that was a great match. It showed two very different styles of competitors. This was a real highlight of where AEW can go and the star power that it has beyond the names that we know, the Kenny Omegas and the Codys and the Jerichos.
Yeah.
Adam Page and Ricky Starks are guys that are draws. We want to see more of these two guys, and I think that
for sure.
This was a great way to start an episode that I think carried that theme on throughout. Man, you really emphasized that to me. I think that you nailed it, brother. I think that that's a home run. I mean, the next match is another great example of the workmanship, the workhorses of this company. It's not just star powers, right? It's not just guys who have charisma. It's two guys that can absolutely go in the ring. Man, I mean,
the Penta defeating Trent ? I really enjoyed that. His first match, Trent's first match back in since the first year. Really, really enjoyed that high energy match, and it told another great story overall with the finish and all that. But the one that really, I mean, I expected high hopes, and it really delivered, was the women's title match. Shida defeating Ty Conti, and honestly, it was going back and forth. I can't wait to chat with you about that one, but it really was a home run match. The second half of it, especially.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the women's division has really taken center stage in this company, and they're not backing away anytime soon, man. I mean, now that the spotlight has been firmly just planted on that division, the work and the effort that has been built into developing the stars in that division has gone a long way, man. I'm really excited about where that division is going to go from here. And I know you had to be happy to see that, the women's champion finally out there defending the title again. I mean, the longest reigning champ. That was a good one. Another one that was buzzing throughout the week, man. You talk about, the storylines that build this show, and one of the ones that's really had me captivated is the Factory versus the Nightmare Family. I really am digging the layers of that story. I like how it's involving characters that, really we see a lot of potential in, but didn't get a lot of shine, or didn't have stories that gave them opportunities to have matches week in and week out that build that excitement. This definitely is going to continue to further that feud. Cutie Marshall and Billy Gunn went at it tonight, and Cutie, of course, had to get some licks in after the match. So there's a lot in store still on that the Nightmare Family versus the Factory feud. I think that one's just getting started.
Absolutely, and I'm becoming more and more of a fan of this week in and week out of the new Factory formation, especially Anthony Ogogo, man. That guy just exudes charisma. Really enjoy him. Christian Cage, his second match versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Really methodically done by Hobbs. I think he was a great, felt like a veteran in the ring. I enjoyed this one, man. Just nonstop. Great matches that, were like not necessarily super high energy, but just the pacing was well done. And especially in this match, I really enjoyed the pacing of it.
A lot of intelligently fought matches tonight. I totally agree with you. That was one of the things that I noticed early on in the Starks match, just how smart he was fighting that match, and that trend continued throughout the night. Yeah. You're going to go against a veteran like Christian Cage. Powerhouse Hobbs was definitely pushing the pace and throwing him around quite a bit. Yeah. And the match that I was really excited for from a stylistic standpoint, I think this one really broke the trend of what we've seen in the Darby Allin Championship reign to this point. We really believed, and no wonder why Jungle Boy was the fans' pick for an opponent. He's such a perfect fit against Darby.
Really is.
Their styles, their body types, their styles, their approach in the ring. Really was nice to be able to have somebody who pushed Darby to showcase some of his submission talents, kind of forced Darby to really, I think, get into the mental aspect of a wrestling match rather than basically having that fight or flight response throughout every single match he's in. Being on defensive all the time. It was nice to see Darby push a little bit more of that offense in this match. SPD, let's get into the main one, because that first match of the show, AEW typically likes to lay down the law, really likes to set the tone quickly in Dynamite and hit the ground running. This was there's nothing to say that this one couldn't deliver, and it did, man. This one absolutely had the star power going into it. You have Hangman Adam Page, our number one contender. Yep. Ricky Starks, who really has proven, even amongst a group of Team Taz that has a lot of turmoil going on right now. We obviously see Team Taz is maybe going off the rails, but there's no denying that Ricky Starks, his career has a lot of great things in store for him down the road. So I know this was a match that had to have you intrigued, just knowing the competitors involved. When you saw this match announced, SPD, what did you think? Obviously, knowing the result now, where do you go from here? I mean, with Hangman Page, is he now going to solidify himself? You think that it's no doubt he's going to be the guy who challenges Kenny Omega going forward?
The momentum is on his side, and it wasn't just your typical win out of him. You know, we saw a submission finish, which typically, I mean, I don't think have seen a submission finish by Hangman Adam Page. You know, that we've talked about the buckshot lariat being such a dominant finisher that we all, you know, we really, really enjoy. So to get this convincing win on a star like Ricky Starks with a submission, and which was great. He really sold it, you know, later in the show. I think just adds another, you know, notch on his belt per se, his cowboy belt, but that just makes him even more dangerous. You know, buckshot lariat, great finish, dominant.
Absolutely, totally agree with you.
So this really, you know, unfortunately, it's two great guys, two stars that AEW is going to grow with these guys, and it's with that finish to me, he's reestablishing just being the top dog. I'm curious when he potentially has a low blow, or, you know, kind of acknowledges the fact that he's a number one contender and his ex best friends, you know, his ex stablemates, because that interview last week, he just kind of, it blew it off about egg rolls, you know, so he ignored it with the Dark Order. So, speaking of Dark Order, with the Dark Order save too at the end of that. So huge. I'm happy to see Ricky Starks back in the ring. You know, of course, Taz always on commentary. He's always making the match that much more exciting. He provides a great background to the match. He added jabs. You know, you get two sides of Taz, I think, with the commentary. You get like the neutral one who can appreciate good competition, appreciate, you know, the rankings and everything like that, and then the jabs, and then after the match, you know, I'm over here, and just low blows, low blows. So it's another one of those where Taz, I think, needs to be featured week in and week out, because just his demeanor alone is just captivating. So big elite out of this one for me. Two guys that I really, really enjoy, and it kept a good story told the whole match. You know, I'm all for the storytelling, as you know. So this one to me was an elite. Where they go from here, Hangman Adam Page, I mean, he's going through, you know, we talked about it, like where does Team Taz go? Is it the team, you know, we had comments from the fans on social, is the team jobbers now. You know, you can't have these guys losing nonstop, and Team Taz was 0-2 tonight. So, but they were a convincing 0-2, but it's still
0-2, brother. Yeah.
Record is a record.
Yep.
So,
man. And Team Taz is, I think, after this week, might not have any representation in the top 5 in the singles. I mean, I know Hobbs was on quite the streak, and as was Starks. I mean, going into this match, Ricky Starks was, you know, 10-0 in those last 10 matches, right? So
that was a good point.
Certainly was on a hot streak. And when you look at, you know, I think Hobbs was ranked 4th in the rankings, if I don't. If my memory serves me correctly. But after tonight, I think that, you know, unfortunately, this team is just, there's a lot of chaos going on inside of it. I think that there's, you know, as a Death Triangle fan, I was concerned about Penta losing in his match with Trent getting that big comeback. Yeah. And I felt like the Death Triangle was kind of losing a little steam from what we saw Pac and Phoenix lose their tag match. This stable is setting the bar for a team that is just really struggling to find their footing. You could tell that the frustration is setting in. Even coming in with, you know, post-match attack that happened in this one, right? I mean, that happened because these guys are frustrated with losing. You know, so I like seeing Hook out there. I enjoy seeing Hook like getting involved later on in the show. I think that Team Taz is at a crossroads after tonight. When you saw Starks, I mean, again, had a phenomenal showing against Hangman. I thought, you know, kicking out of a lariat from Hangman Page speaks volumes on Starks' toughness. Not just, I mean, we all speak, you know, we speak a lot about how, you know, Ricky Starks has that charisma and has that swagger to him. But it's important to acknowledge what he does in the ring too. The guy can go, has an engine like very few in the business. So I think that, you know, the talent is there. It's undeniable. We all agree that Team Taz has two absolute powerhouses. I mean, with two guys like the size of Will Hobbs and Brian Cage, and then you have a potential megastar in Ricky Starks. There's no reason why these guys shouldn't be huge successes in this company, but it feels like this is a real great example of how important chemistry is to a team, man. These guys just do not have the chemistry. You can tell they don't have each other's backs. And there's a little bit of that frustration setting in. So, I think that it's going to come to a head sooner than later, my friend. I think eventually we're going to see one of these, Team Taz starting to go head to head with each other at some point. So that said, man, I mean, when I think about like how important this match was for setting the tone for Dynamite, I felt like the next match was incredibly important for setting the tone for where the Death Triangle and the Best Friends are going from here. I mean, Trent coming back was huge. You and I both agree that that guy is an absolute workhorse in the ring. It was great to see him back. I miss Trent a lot. Again, though, I felt like as a Death Triangle fan, as taking away the analyst side of me and just really recognizing as a fan of that group, I was concerned. I saw these guys, Pac and Phoenix put on a 5-star absolute match of the year candidate.
Oh,
against
gosh.
And they had that match won in many instances. It was a phenomenal matchup. But losing that match, I was concerned that, Penta lost against Cody not long ago. I was a little concerned about how, maybe these guys coming off the tracks, Penta winning in this match. And even though there was some, some stuff involved with Alex, Alex certainly got involved more than normal in this scenario.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it was really entertaining, right? But it was really nice to see Penta get a strong win like this. And I think it sets the stage. The Best Friends versus the Death Triangle will be an absolutely fun feud for AEW fans moving forward. You got guys that are talented in the ring, and then there's that natural babyface vibe of the Best Friends. Knowing, you were out of action last week, SPD, but you try to pride yourself on being the Iron Man of Dynamite Download. Trent coming back, man. What were your thoughts on one of our favorites as far as in-ring work goes in AEW coming back and coming up short? What were your thoughts on that? It kind of surprised me.
When we did our Sunday social, if you guys joined, thank you for joining. We had to switch our Friday night flights to Sunday. We talked about this match and how it was more meaningful to have Trent's return with a victory, but this doesn't hurt him at all. And he didn't have any ring rust in the ring. I thought he really showed up great. He went over that top rope with that awesome spot. And that's when I was like, yep, all right, man, the workhorse is back. And we talk about workhorses, Dax in the Pinnacle / FTR, Trent here in Best Friends, Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle. There's always pretty much a clear dominant one, and Trent is that one that was missing. But it's very interesting to me, Death Triangle kind of made a little shift of babyface, with Pac and Phoenix. Yeah. But then we have Penta leaning so much more towards heel, and Penta working as a heel works so good. So now how does this tie in? Ultimately Death Triangle versus Best Friends, are they going to go? They just recently turned babyface, those two.
Great
so
question by
I don't know. Does Penta turn on his brothers or what? Because he's just going down the deep end too much. I really, to talk about the match, man, we knew going in, anytime Penta's in a match, you're going to have a chop battle that's going to be cringeworthy. So it did not disappoint. And I noticed Trent was slapping him in the exposed shoulder versus the chest sometimes too.
Smart catch.
Penta throws one of the best destroyers in the entire business. It is unbelievably brutal. We saw what he did at the ladder match against Cody Rhodes. But anytime a suplex happens, or anytime I always cringe with the suplex, but
pile driver. Yeah.
Pile driver. Yes. I'm sorry. Pile driver. Anytime, Penta goes for that apron pile driver, or anyone does a pile driver, we saw QT Marshall do it. I just cringe with it, man. Obviously they're professionals, but it's one of those ones like,
oh, and 316 says I just broke your neck.
I almost prefer not to see it. Oh gosh.
No, I hear you, bro. And that actually, you mentioned pile driver. I mean, it's going viral from that match, man. It's going viral. That it was a pump handle cradle pile driver that Penta pulled off on Trent. That is something. I mean, it was fluid, where it wasn't like he took a moment to catch him and then drop him. I mean, Penta really what a fluid move that was. It's going viral for a reason. It was one of those moves where I was just like, holy smokes, did I just see that happen? I mean, like you talked about, SPD, a pile driver is one thing, but for you to do a pump handle version where it's just one fluid motion, it's that is one of those moves that is low key incredibly dangerous. And just it's just like a move in the match, you know.
True.
But my gosh, when you see those pile drivers, and then I mean, they did a nice job of the Trent pile driver on the apron. Penta kind of he did a nice job of kind of bracing himself for that one. But that oh my gosh, the offense in this match, bro. When you talk about, like you said, the chops that were coming from Penta, and he always brings it.
For sure, it's brutal.
That's what I want to say, man. Like Penta, I'm a fan of Penta going back to the Lucha Underground days. I haven't seen this Penta, man. Like you could tell my man's got some swagger back in him, dude. Like he looks ripped. He looks like pissed off. You talked about it. He's got that heel edge to him, and it's not necessarily jiving right now with what Phoenix and Pac are laying out there. But that's the beautiful thing about the Death Triangle. I think honestly, like what I talked about before when we were discussing, for those of you who are new to our group here, you know, I'm a diehard Pac fanboy, and SPD, like you and I have had a lot of conversations about why that's the case. I think that's because he can play new face, heel, neutral. Yep. Pac has shown across the board that he can be effective in any role. And I think that the Death Triangle is such a perfect group because if you pair up Pac and Penta, you immediately have an angry, violent team. I mean, we saw on Dark. I was interacting with some fans out there from watching Dark too. Pac was pissed, dude. I mean, like, and you know, a pissed off, angry bastard is gonna bring the intensity. So if you can lean one way with the Death Triangle, right? And this is what makes them so great. That they got heel side over here, babyface side over here with Pac and Phoenix, and then I mean the Lucha Brothers. You could put them in any sort of combination with anybody, and I just think that these guys can naturally play off of them. Now, yeah, they're gonna need to lean more into those heel tactics of theirs when they go against the Best Friends. And honestly, from a storyline perspective, it makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, they just came up short against the Young Bucks, and Phoenix now. He's the one who's the most natural babyface out of all those guys. For him to get his mask ripped off, double super kicked, basically embarrassed, you know, like the way they lost those titles. If you're Phoenix, especially the year, I mean, SPD, I'll let you comment on this too, because, you know, the year that Phoenix has had,
unbelievable.
The man deserves gold. I mean, when you look at, 2021 is flying by, right? But
it really is.
From the beginning of this calendar year, going against Kenny Omega, right, for the world title. I
was there live.
From that on, it was an absolutely torrid showcase for Phoenix. I mean, the man won the tag battle royal. He's just been an absolute, and the battles that he had with Lance Archer. I mean, I know that we could go
5-star matches every time he's in the ring, pretty much.
Absolutely. I think that's, to me, like a sign of what this group is capable of. When you have a guy like Phoenix as just one piece of the puzzle. Let's get back into this match. I mean, I'm going to give this one an elite because we could go on about this one, but I think that the reason why we kind of got off the tracks is because this feud is genuinely exciting. I think
it really is, yeah.
You know, we saw the Best Friends kind of go, like when Trent was hurt, and then that feud with Miro and Kip Sabian felt like it lasted forever. It's very exciting to see the Best Friends in a capacity that we can be excited about them again, right? To cheer them on and have some fun with their stories again. And the in-ring intensity that the Death Triangle brings, it's gonna, you know, that they're gonna hit on both sides, whether it's entertainment value with the Best Friends or in-ring action. This one is going to be a really exciting feud that leads into double or nothing. I think that this is going to be, maybe this is the birthplace of the Trios Championship. I mean,
that would be exciting.
Could you pick two better groups for it, right? I mean, the best friends
Yeah.
are very naturally a trio, and as are the Death Triangle. I think that would be a phenomenal segue into it. Who knows? AEW's always got a couple tricks up their sleeves for us.
That is for sure. And, one of my, the two favorite segments back to back were the Pinnacles segment, interview with Jim Ross, and the Inner Circles. Other than that, most of this was filled with wrestling, which was a great Dynamite. But the Pinnacle, it is Silk season, baby. It is Silk season for MJF and the Pinnacle, the Pineapple. But what I really, obviously, MJF, his promos are always A+ home runs. I mean, he has never missed a beat, man. He is just outstanding. But what I really liked about this, and it kind of contrasted the Inner Circle promo, was that Wardlow getting a time to shine. And on the other end, we saw Jake Hager a little bit time to shine, and others, Santana. But Wardlow telling it Silk season and getting him a new scarf from a silk scarf from Tully. But this was great, man. Seeing the close zoom in on Wardlow, and the moment Wardlow came out of your mouth, you knew you were doing something wrong. That line was special, man. I really enjoyed that, and I was like, oh snap, oh shoot. But MJF's, man, the rub on Jericho, and how he said that when he's 25, you were curtain jerking, and just at the end, just to look at it. I am a mark. I'm a mark for your spot. And such a powerful promo. I really, really enjoyed this segment. As expected. I mean, this just gets me so excited. And we did find out a lot of great stuff. We found out that Blood and Guts is the whole match, the whole night. One match on May 5th. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you have 2 rings in there, and we'll find out next week the Pinnacle Parlay and Inner Circle Parlay.
2 hours. How?
I mean, all 10 of these guys deserve it 100%.
Holy smokes, man!
But to have I wonder if it's going to be an eliminator style match or something like that, or just a total just free for all, man. I can't even wait. Oh man, it's going to be. It has to be kind of like an eliminator match. You guys, they can't have 2 hours in the ring. You think that'd be pretty hard?
I mean, I know that we talked about the workhorses and things like that, brother. Can you imagine? I mean, I think that they have to. The great thing about this is it's going to be a 10-man match, right? So I mean, there's going to be a lot of action. There's going to be a lot of spots where people are going to be knocked out of stretches of the match and stuff like that. So, I mean, and if this match represents anything of what we've seen so far with their battles, right? I mean, when we've seen those backstage segments, AEW's done such a beautiful job with their cinematography. I mean, think about it, never overwhelming us with the camera with too much going on. I mean, cutting to Hager and Wardlow and the attack and the massage table. Seeing Santana, I always love that moment with Dax with the blood on his shirt. All those moments, they cut to those individually and they showcased each of these in a really nice way. So I think each guy in this match is really going to have an opportunity to shine. Each guy's going to really have an opportunity to kind of break out and have those moments. And when you do that, I mean, it's gonna fly by. How many times have we talked about Dynamite just goes by like that, right? So when you have this kind of setup and the pros that you have, I mean, really you think about the talent and the experience that are coming into this match. I think that this one's going to be a really fascinating one. But, man, the promo battle that they are giving us fans is absolutely insane, dude. I mean, I hope that this is the build. I hope that they keep these guys apart until that match. I don't want to see them getting physical again until Blood and Guts, because this promo battle is as entertaining as it gets anyway. Honest to God, and
that's true.
It was really nice too to see. We're going to talk about it now with the Pinnacle promo, but there was later on in the Inner Circle promo too, characters that aren't getting. Obviously, yes, MJF and Jericho are absolute killers on the mic, dude. I mean,
that's an understatement. You can't say enough of good stuff about them.
Insane on the mic, right? But to hear Wardlow cut such a pointed, intelligent promo tonight again, it's just another piece of that puzzle that comes together to the big picture of what Wardlow is on the grand scheme of things for AEW, and that is a big man who is incredibly athletic, who's got the look, who's got the confidence, who's got the athleticism. I mean, this dude can hit a senton off the top. The guy is in control. He's young. He loves the business, and now you can start to tell the confidence and what he's been. The way they've slowly allowed the handcuffs to come off of him. That promo calling Jericho out, on the Immortal promo, and saying how smooth Jericho was on that promo, on that epic rant. SPD. I mean, it felt like that was like an 8-minute promo by Jericho.
It was. I rewatched it and I was like,
for him to stumble on Wardlow and slip up, and for Wardlow to use that slip up for his advantage to kind of build up his mystique and aura, dude. It was just brilliant. And this is just me lauding praise on Wardlow's performance. MJF, man, it's almost become expected. He has definitely spoiled us as wrestling fans, man. This dude is a natural, just absolute, like, brilliant on the mic. He's just a very smart guy. You could tell he knows what he's doing, man. I'm a big fan of this segment, big fan of this build. Who do you see, SPD, at this point? I mean, let's hold off on the debate on who wins Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
To this point, who's got the upper hand, and if SPD's got the scorecard?
Based on tonight's promo, Inner Circle.
It goes back and forth every week, doesn't it?
Based on, honestly, I don't know if it's timing of that. If you want to, we can dive right back into Inner Circle because it's a hot topic. But
let's do it.
Based on that promo from Jericho and the Inner Circle, and freaking Santana bringing the fire, I think Inner Circle has the upper hand. The passion from Jericho is unmatched right now. I think his delivery and just his charisma and just everything you see in his face and just getting all red and hot, with his promo, like the fiery passion we're seeing out of Jericho is unmatched right now. Yes, we saw Max get intense multiple times every promo, really, but Jericho, man, I don't think. I'm scared of Jericho if I was anyone from the Pinnacle. But anyways, it was just the Inner Circle promo, man. I become. I can't wait till we go back to Daily's Place or AEW Live and start singing this. I think this is would be a good Friday Night Flights and Fights topic, but just off the cusp, like, what do you like better, Jericho heel or babyface, man? And he works so good both. But it's so fun for both because, like, being the heel, it's fun to get insulted by Jericho. It's fun to hear his insults. And then it's fun to be on his side when he's a babyface. So
he knows how to rile up a crowd, doesn't he?
He does. You can just tell he was eating up that crowd as I would, as anybody would. I mean, if you heard him on the Broken Skull sessions, man, he said they would be kill for, like Peoria, 1,200 people in Peoria or wherever it was, like, Sheboygan, he said in the Broken Skull says, and they would kill for that. And, they're getting more and more fans back at Daily's Place, which is great. Yep. And so this little bit, it's just, you can tell every time there's crowd and they're singing his song that he's feeling the vibe. I mean, he's done it for 30 years, but, the one punch by Wardlow and then another punch by Hager, his rebuttal, throwing the straws, and he was pretty intense. I think he got ahead of himself and was almost too intense, missing the mic spot, but that was another person who scared me. Jericho's intensity scared me, his passion scared me, and Hager's intensity was those two are unmatched. And then the cherry on top is Santana, man. He looks like a star in that leather jacket, those shades, his slick hair. Man, he is a star, and you've always been a Santana and Ortiz fan, and now I'm proud and powerful, full throttle. And Santana, we saw the color of your blood. Now we will see the size of your heart. That was just like a boom. Gosh, loved every little bit about this promo. 100% Inner Circle is upper hand right now.
Whew.
On me.
See, I love hearing you say it, man. I feel like. I'm not gonna. Santana absolutely. I mean, I love hearing you talk Santana up like that. He's again, man. This dude is stepping up in another way, and getting an opportunity to get that mic time. The guy's got that swagger to him. You could tell he's definitely feeling it right now. He's Santana's kicking it into another gear as far as his persona and his character work is going right now. Want to see him in the ring and see him against FTR. I think that's going to bring out the best of them. Iron sharpens iron. I think that's going to be a test of two incredible tag teams. We've really lauded a lot of praise at Dax for what he's been able to do to separate himself and really push FTR to another level.
Right.
And Santana's doing the same thing for his crew. So I really dig what the potential of this feud goes. For me, man, I'm on Team Pinnacle on this so far. I think Pinnacle is absolutely just I find like that the promos from Inner Circle are entertaining and they're funny and
I was laughing out loud a lot.
And that's what goes back to like the babyface vibe, right? Like Jericho's a babyface, absolutely hilarious, funny guy and engaging. Definitely you could tell he enjoys that front man of the rock and roll band persona. And he can kind of unlock a little bit of that more, unleash a little bit of that more as a baby face, just kind of soaking up the adoration of the fans and playing along, man. Yeah, but I like how intelligent the Pinnacle promos have been, man. They've just been very laser focused. You could tell, I think that this speaks to the makeups of the crews, right? I think that the Inner Circle is family, and they got that chemistry where like they date back from the beginning of AEW.
OG.
So like they know like we are who we are. They got that they're comfortable with where they're at. They don't need to prove themselves to anybody. They kind of have that natural like confidence to them, right? Like just kind of got that like we got this. That only really comes when you know the guy next to you has your back and that you've been through wars together. The Pinnacle, like the way that they're built right now, it's not about that like that family vibe. It's about like we want to prove to the world that we are the best. And there's just a little bit more of that edge to where what I'm getting from them is a little bit more of that edge, man. That little bit more of that fire. There's something to be said for when you're on top, you're not as hungry as that lion who's starving, right? When you're the king of the jungle and you got a full belly, you got to watch out for those lions that are young and who are starving and who are hungry. And when you look at Pinnacle, MJF, you could tell this dude he's tired of hearing that his time will come. You could tell he's kind of he's taking that personally. He's kind of harvesting some of that energy of that. It's all praise. And that's a beautiful thing. It's all praise about MJF. And we all believe this man has so much potential. It's wild to think about how good he will be. This dude, we just got done talking about our Mount Rushmores. This dude has a potential for young fans. He's going to be on the Mount Rushmore for a lot of young kids, dude. Like this dude could be that good. But when you hear MJF, you could tell he's sick and tired of hearing, well, in 5 years from now, 6 years from now, he's going to be a top guy. MJF wants to prove that he's ready for that responsibility now. I think that, when we date back to the origins of Dynamite Download, MJF has proven time and again, dude, with that feud with John Moxley, Dictator John.
Phenomenal.
MJF is very, very ready to prove kind of that he is at the top of the food chain. And I think that time, that hunger is what is putting the Pinnacle over the edge, in my opinion. I think that extra hunger, that extra fire in their bellies is what's, I think, is making them, gives them the leg up. My opinion. I don't know. I see that edge in them, bro.
I can totally see that, man. I could see both perspectives. That's why this is going to be such a fun event in 2 short weeks' time. Unbelievable! I can't wait. And we talked about how like that would be this. We thought it was going to be maybe this is just going to be the beginning of this feud that we can't wait to watch for months and months and months and months and months. But a women's title match, the first title match of the night, was hyped very well. I really enjoyed the hype promo. Obviously these two were, respect for each other. The friendship was there. They've teamed up together. They've been in each other's corner. But they held no punches. It was a pretty brutal match, very heavy hitting. Conti's got some brutal knees and brutal kicks. A lot of news. What I liked about Sheeta's performance was I saw a lot of new submissions from her, and I think that Witch's shot on top of the turnbuckle was really cool. And this side of Sheeta is the side of Sheeta that I've been wanting us to see as the fighting champion. This was, I think, one of her best matches to date of why she is the champion. If she was in, defending the title every week, whatever it is, and having matches like this would really make her title reign that much more dominant and meaningful, because of she's only wrestled twice in singles matches. This is the third one, and we're in April. Granted, she had stuff with the women's tournament and all this and all that, but
that's a wow.
I know her record was 2-0 in 2021. Now it's 3-0. So, but listening to your guys' show last week with Bonds, I agree with Bonds and you, and I've said it, but he said it was either you or him said that she was the most improved wrestler in AEW so far this year, and for Ty Conti, and I completely agree, man. She showed up again, very convincing with her storytelling, very, very dominant with her moves. You can tell her submissions, her strikes are very spot on and methodical. And Sheeta had great counters with those, and Sheeta brought her A game and ultimately took, defended the title for the bigger picture that we're all waiting for, which we'll talk about after. But what do you think of the match first? I mean, it was definitely hands down elite for me. I always have high expectations for the women's match because we usually only get one on the card other than last week. And in a division that is growing rapidly and very, very strong right now. This was a home run.
Absolutely. No, I mean, this was an elite for me without question. I felt like going into this week, I was really excited for this matchup. I mean, I honestly, a lot of people were most buzzed for the main event, and that is totally understandable. That matchup was an incredible blend of styles and two real fan favorites. But for me,
absolutely,
I was most excited for this match, and the reason why is because I felt like since day one at Dynamite Download, I've been a huge advocate for the tag division and for the women's division in this company. I think that this company has grown a lot. And when you see the women's division and you look at this from a big picture perspective, you can really appreciate the work that they're doing to present this division as something special. And they're investing in this division. I think that, I've been put into positions where unfortunately you have to defend Sheeta, as you talked about, not getting those opportunities to defend her title. I can't put that at the feet of the champion herself, because every time I see Sheeta wrestle, I'm always incredibly impressed by her. I always am incredibly taken aback by how hard hitting her matches are. They're always they're consistently hard hitting. Doesn't matter who her opponent is. She could be against someone that's bigger than her, like Nyla Rose. In this instance, against somebody like Ty Conti, who forces her to change up her game and meet some and really go against one of the best mixed martial artists in all of professional wrestling, Ty Conti. Even though she's young, you see the pedigree that this young woman has. You like to talk about pound for pound strength. When it comes to pound for pound knowledge or experience in MMA and really the world of martial arts, Ty Conti has a lot of skills in her toolbox that she draws on, and it pushed our champion to get outside of her comfort zone. And I think that was something that was much needed tonight. I love this matchup, and it delivered because SPD, I've mentioned it before, Ty Conti reminds me, and I said it to Bonds, she's the most improved wrestler on the roster this year. She reminds me of a young Thunder Rosa. She has that tenacity.
Nice.
Thunder, when we interviewed her, man, she talked a lot about how we love this about Thunder. She brings that MMA approach to all of her matches. She has that pacing and that natural strike first attack mentality. Ty Conti brings that in her matches, man. It always feels like she's reading her opponent, she's analyzing the situation and figuring out how best to beat her opponent in that any given movement. It doesn't feel like she's ever at a loss for how to react to something that happens in a match or in a fight. And that's something I really appreciate in a young star. It's a lost art in professional wrestling that I think was really showcased throughout this match. And when I talk about the hard-hitting nature of this one, dude, I mean, there was a moment where when Ty Conti kneed Sheeta in the face, it felt like Britt Baker. I know Britt Baker made her appearance after the match, but it felt like Britt Baker was going to need to see the champion and maybe do some dental work on the champ.
Yeah, that was a brutal knee for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that was a representation again, like this match throughout. Incredibly hard-hitting, just absolutely back and forth. It presented Ty Conti as a legitimate number one contender in this, which was another thing that I know you probably really appreciated, right? Because there have been a lot of big wins for Ty Conti as she went on to that 10 win record to get her to be that number one contender at 10-1 going into this match against Sheeta. There were a lot of her big wins. It almost felt like, there was distractions or a lot of stuff and noise going on at the ends of those matches, and it didn't allow us to celebrate Ty Conti and the rise of Ty Conti. Well, tonight we get to celebrate that because she certainly was showcased everything she had, and she was presented as an equal to our champion, who Sheeta is the longest reigning champion in AEW history, folks. Let's
crazy.
Put that in pen and write that one down because that is a fact. And when you see somebody young like Ty Conti, really who is still bursting on the scene, presented in a way where she is very much the equal, it adds some legitimacy to those who are pulling for Ty. I know Ty Conti has a very passionate fan base, and there were a lot of people who were chomping at the bit for her to win tonight. I think that it's not her time yet, but tonight, after a showcase like tonight, just like earlier on in the night, I feel like Ricky Starks showed maybe it's not his time quite yet, but when given the opportunity, this is somebody you can rely on. I think AEW brass pays a lot of attention to that. They're going to see this and they're going to say, okay, note to self, when Britt Baker needs a challenger down the road, a natural babyface to go against that heel, obnoxious, over-the-top heel of persona of Britt Baker, this is somebody we could draw on because obviously we love the Thunder Rosa feud, but Britt needs to have some other natural competitors against her. Jade has that heel vibe to her. Nyla Rose has a heel vibe to her. It's important to establish babyface challengers down the road for a potential heel champion in Britt Baker. And Ty Conti did a lot tonight to show that she deserves that opportunity again.
Absolutely, and it wouldn't have been a women's segment without the DMD showing face, and this was perfect. She didn't have to say much. She got a new shirt, another new shirt, and this was help from the graphics team, as the announcer said, but how she's been really feeding into those ranking systems, and then she comes out and then moves herself to the number one contender. And, we are not far away, like you said earlier, from Double or Nothing, and this is a perfect I would say it could be co-main event, Double or Nothing. We don't know the card for it yet, but I'm all for her. Britt still just adding some wins on, Elevation or Dark or whatever it is, just dominant wins.
And she's doing that.
And she definitely is. She's been really, laying some paint down on some people's faces and stuff. So I'm all for that. So that was a nice little segment. And then Sheeta throwing the kendo stick at her. So now we have essentially, hopefully we'll see Sheeta fight some more before this title match. Maybe not just like we're hoping for, because she's so good in the ring and we want to see that. I don't want to have another month and a half hiatus of her in the ring.
I think that you're right on, SPD. I think that they need to do that because you talk a lot about strike while the iron's hot,
right.
And with Britt, we all are chomping at the bit for I am. We're all chomping at the bit though to see Britt become the women's champion. And yes, like with Sheeta being the longest reigning champion, that will be a huge moment and a huge feather in the cap for the DMD, but how much more compelling would that be if we are reminded of Sheeta's let Sheeta have a match or two still before Double or Nothing where we have this reaction, right? Where we're like, damn, Sheeta is legit, man. Like
for sure.
It's important, right? We need that. I think that would build that because we've been reminded of Britt. I mean, the Thunder Rosa feud and that unsanctioned match, everybody has finally are putting respect on the DMD's name, but we need to have something similar where Sheeta has that opportunity, and tonight was a big moment for that. But where we're reminded of like why she is such a huge obstacle for the women's division and why no one has been able to conquer Sheeta in almost a year, right? Like just absolutely like over a year.
Yeah.
So over a year's time. So you got to think about that. So
that's right. One other thing we're going to segue into the next segment is the Factory and the Nightmare family. This feud, we touched briefly on the intro of the show, is quickly becoming, one of the top feuds in AEW. And it's nice to see Billy Gunn. Oh, I just noticed that he's using Billy Gunn because he used to just be using Billy, even though he is the Gun Club that, runs the Gun Club. So that's pretty cool on that. But this told a lot of story, man. I really liked everything in them before the match, after the match, everything all about it, man. I really, when this got announced late last night after the shenanigans on Dark, I was all for it, and it exceeded my expectations. First I want to mention, I think QT leading this Factory, I think maybe he needs to drop the bowling shirt and get a little something tougher, in my opinion. That's the only negative I'm going to say. I think QT is really reinventing himself in an home run way. Billy looked great. I mean, look at that guy. I mean, he's been around almost as long as Jericho, or if not longer, and he looks like $1 million, man. Props to him. And I love that the Gun Club got involved in this too, really establishing and setting up the feud for later on. But like I said earlier, man, the pile drivers make me so nervous, and QT delivers a mean, brutal pile driver.
Yes, he does.
And so he has really done a great job. I mean, we saw it a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, I cannot not mention Anthony Ogogo in the Factory. I think he is going to be the biggest star that comes out of this new formation of this faction. Yeah, he looks like $1 million. He walks like $1 million. He talks like $1 million, man. This guy has it all. He's got those suits, the charisma. He's got it all. And we talked about having it, and he's got it. We talked about it with multiple people. And wow. So what'd you think about the match itself? And then we'll talk about some of the shenanigans at the end of it.
Okay. For me, leading into it, QT Marshall's promo kind of leading into this match was going viral on Twitter. I was digging that. My favorite show of all time is The Sopranos. I got that like a little, that little
True, he
Italian
does have the Tony Soprano shirt. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and he gives me some Tony Soprano vibes, hardcore. I mean, I'm digging it. I him sitting back and just kind of having the little tough guy mentality. Even the look, dude, like the bowling shirts, you could dog on him all you want, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know. I think that he's got a good thing going right now. And he's kind of got the mob behind him. You know what I mean? He's kind of got that mob boss. He kind of has a mob boss vibe to him. I mean, you got Anthony Ogogo, an Olympic boxer, as your enforcer. You got somebody like Nick Camarado who could take a chair over the face and not flinch.
Oh my gosh.
Aaron Salo, I mean, this dude, you and I have talked a lot about him and his performances on Dark and just sort of the athleticism. Yeah. He's obviously, to me, Aaron is the athletic one of the group that kind of has that all around performer vibe to him, whereas the rest of his crew is just pure muscle, just bad dudes, right? So I think that QT's got that. He's got a newfound confidence and a little more swagger behind him now that he's got the mob with him. And I dig that. I really dig that. I think that QT's killing it. As a guy who's always on social, on Twitter, I think QT Marshall is really leaning into this new opportunity. He's been like one of the more funny, entertaining follows on social media. I want to share your little clip of you making fun of him in his bowling shirt because he's going to roast your ass on Twitter, man. He's going to go all out.
Bring it on.
Now, QT versus Billy Gunn here was an interesting matchup because, I mean, obviously, you look at these two. Billy, I mean, JR was still salivating over Mr. Ass tonight, just like talking about what a powerhouse he is. I mean, just a big boy. Billy Gunn's always kind of been a bigger dude, and you didn't realize it, I guess, earlier on in his career. But
you really didn't.
I mean, he was a man, a land of giants. He was never presented the same as, obviously in a world where you got to see Big Show and Kane and Undertaker and everything. But in this landscape, there's he definitely still carries some weight, man. On the AEW roster, Billy Gunn looks like a dude who could tear some folks up, man. Even to this day, the guy,
sure.
I talked about it, dude. Like, there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh man, but why this match and stuff?" And I'm like, man, when you talk about veterans who still look like they can go, between Billy Gunn and Frankie Kazarian, I mean, those guys they found the fountain of youth wherever the hell they found it. Lead me there. Maybe I can help regrow my hair. Right? I mean, these guys they've found the fountain of youth. They're getting older and they look better and better. I mean, they just like they can go in the ring. This match, Billy Gunn was not struggling at all and throughout this one as far as keeping up, setting the tone. I feel like he really was the one who was pushing the pace in this match with QT, throwing him around a lot, spilled outside the ring, was getting pretty physical at points. And some of that's because, QT was just like he was doing with Cody. QT is finding that, his greatest asset is the mind games, taking those personal digs at Cody and talking about his kids being ringside to watch their dad get their ass kicked and stuff like that. For a guy like QT to do something like that, it kind of shows he's all in on where the factory is going to take him. So this one to me, again, maybe a surprise, but it wasn't a lead out of me. It was kind of an old school wrestling match, kind of a brawl. And I like when you have matches that feel like the competitors don't like each other, and they fight like that. I one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling is when you have these matches where you have guys who genuinely are supposed to hate each other and all this stuff, and they just go through the motions in a regular match. It just feels like they're going through a match. This felt like a fight. This felt like there was some pride on the line. This felt like QT, as the leader of the factory, he didn't want to come up short on this one. So he clearly was willing to do whatever it took to win. I dig it, man. I really like where they're going with this. And what I love most is it's giving people like Dustin Rhodes, it's giving people like Nick Camarado, like Anthony Ogogo, opportunities to have stories that are compelling. And for a casual viewer, who might be watching Dynamite and is intrigued by what they're seeing, hopefully pulls them into a dark elevation or a dark. AEW's really got a lot of content out there right now, dude, and it's important that they do stuff like this, given how big the roster is, giving these characters stories and feuds that keep us coming back for more. It helps decipher them and makes them feel more important. I think that this was a home run, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Obviously, I think Nick Camarado and Dustin Rhodes is in the cards down the road, and I know that one's going to have you geeked out because you're a Dustin Rhodes fan.
Was on fire tonight. I love how he switches it up. He looked like Venom, like this, Marvel Comics superhero. Like, it was great, man. And Camarado is just scariness after that chair shot. Man, we've been high on Camarado. We see a star in him, and I think he's going to be developed. That would be a nice match, and I think Dustin would put him over because he's an absolute workhorse and a veteran and selfless guy, Dustin Rhodes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about the Elite, man. Look at their outfits. I mean, look at the Young Bucks, really, after wrestling in $10,000 pair of shoes last week and watching BTE, which is great. All of them are looking like, almost like a circus act right here. But it's really great, man. I'm surprised Kenny Omega doesn't have his tight pants and those little pointy shoes on too.
Kenny looks the most normal. Yeah,
he does, which is surprising, But we got to see them show up in their trailer and then cut a promo and calling out, Moxley and Eddie Kingston.
Oh man, that was.
And they were saying how they were the group of, this is all Elite Wrestling. They were the group that created all AEW. And then when they did eventually call him out and they went looking for him, it was almost as like a setup. But I don't understand that swerve. Like, they heard the horn honking and they hit the trailer, but they weren't in the trailer. So I was I loved the segment just because of Moxley and Kingston are so gold together. Such great chemistry together. Two guys that can actually are just like street thugs that will, throw a freaking pipe through your window. Literally, but
going into a trailer trying to fight like six guys, right? Like, absolutely, man. I love this. I love that swagger.
I'm thinking, talking through this segment, like, what if they heard the horn honking and they hit the trailer and they weren't there, what was that all about?
They bailed, bro. They
They
clearly
bailed
were
fast enough to
I
run
think-
away. I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you think about like the truck hit, so here's the truck, right? Here's the semi. The truck hit over here, right? Their
Yeah.
exit was over. The exit was over here. So I mean,
They
I feel
bailed
like they as soon as they got the truck
Okay.
hit, man, they bailed, bro. And let's be real, man. The elite, they aren't at the top because they're stupid. Don Callis, the invisible
true.
hand. You know, Don Callis. He as soon as this situation started to get dicey, he had his golden child, Kenny Omega, hightail it out of there. If the Good Brothers had to sacrifice themselves, he would have had anybody as far as Kenny getting out of the ring. Kenny's got a big matchup this weekend, so you got to be careful.
Yeah,
you got to protect Kenny. He's got a big match. So, no, man, I thought this. For all the people who have been criticizing the Bucks and wondering, are they good, are they bad? This was definitely an example. Like, dude, they are all in on being unapologetically themselves again. And not really worrying about being the nice guys. I think the story now. The more you have time to look at it and digest it, this dates back long before. The Good Brothers were even on the scene, dude. I mean, remember when they were feuding with FTR, and it felt like one week they were getting fined, they would be kicking out, Alex Marvez in the face, and then the next week they'd be the baby faces getting the crowd riled up. So this inner turmoil of the Young Bucks has been an overarching story of their characters to the beginnings of AEW, and now we start to understand why, right? Like now that Kenny Omega has kind of peeled back the curtain and showcased, again, dude, for those of us who can follow Kenny back to his New Japan days, Kenny was not a nice guy then a lot of times either, man. True. Like Kenny's not gotten over by just being the John Cena of New Japan. That was not his thing. So we got to be mindful of that. Kenny has some heel vibes to him already. And for them to peel back that curtain and to kind of tell us, like, there was a lot of confliction going on between their roles. SPD, you've emphasized, I know, back when we go back to our fantasy draft, if you could start a company all over and from scratch, you're always big on who could be the ambassador for my brand, who could represent the brand. And when you have that kind of pressure hanging over yourself, plus being the one who has to be making financial decisions for the company and having to make sure that, you guys are working out contracts and deals and bringing in talent and playing all the roles that the Bucks have had to play, it's understandable, but that they've been pulled in a bunch of different directions. And now that Kenny has kind of and Don, let's give Don some credit. He was very excited to see the Young Bucks back, the old Bucks back in action. I don't know, man. I feel like this story is not only compelling from a character motivation standpoint, but when you look at the characters involved, you look at like the Elite being recognized as the greatest in the world and all this stuff, and then you got a guy like Eddie Kingston on the other side who has literally scratched and clawed and fought to even get an opportunity to be in AEW. Right. You just have the natural heel and babyface vibes, and dude, who's not going to be geeked out to see Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus the Young Bucks? I mean, who wouldn't? Let's be real. I mean, that matchup right there has me just geeking out about what the potential could be. I mean, and talk about challenging the Young Bucks to move into a different style. I think that the Bucks and the Super Kick Party would get a rude awakening if they have to get into a street fight with Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. I think that would be a lot of fun.
When if they take it to the street, there's no one beating like I said, the backyard alley thugs of Moxley and Kingston for sure. But speaking of thugs, Powerhouse Hobbs. We finally get to see him back on Dynamite, man. I love, like I talked about earlier, man. Taz back on commentary is great. Hobbs, man, his pacing, I can't say enough about good things about his pacing of this match. Even though they had a picture-in-picture, I really enjoyed it. The slow, methodical pacing. It was very well wrestled, and a great job by Hobbs in this one with being in the ring with a seasoned veteran of Christian Cage for sure. Hobbs looked strong with his clotheslines. I loved how his reversals, he's just like flipping Cage off, just flipping him off his back, very just like powerhousey and strong.
Yeah,
so-
powerhousey, man.
That's right,
Yeah.
powerhousey. And then, ultimately, Cage comes back with a massive frog splash and then kill switch for the win. So this was another fun match to watch, and good to see the true Hobbs come out. We've seen like a lot of squashes out of him. This was a nice long match that he wrestled overall. So I really enjoyed it. And it's unfortunate, like I said earlier, that Team Taz is starting to become team jobbers when they have so many guys that are such huge stars.
Yeah.
Every
Everybody
one
in
of
that
them,
crew, man. Yeah.
every one of them has the like limitless potential because they have such good in-ring work, such good storytelling ability, all of them, man. So I liked where this going. I'm all for the Cage Team Taz feud as essentially Cage's first feud in AEW. So this match was an elite, not just because of the storytelling, but it's not because of the wrestling, but because of the storytelling for me and the pacing.
Yeah, and I think that like you have a guy like Hobbs in the ring I can remember the first time we watched Hobbs in those baby blue trunks that he had, and how we used to have those arguments about like should he join Team Taz or not, and what a babyface backstory that this guy had.
Yeah.
And
loved his babyface story.
And for him to get to this stage now, dude, I love the orange black singlet that he has. I think that like it just got that good the FTW vibe to it. But for him to be in the ring with Christian, I felt like this was an example of like why Christian was a great signing for AEW,
right?
Because he's a veteran who can go. And, we just got done talking about Dustin Rhodes and how excited we are to see, that. And we saw Billy Gunn, a veteran who can go.
Right.
Christian is such a nice signing for AEW because it gives opportunities for matchups like this, where you have a young, raw powerhouse like Hobbs, who doesn't get a lot of opportunity to shine on a big stage like this. You put him in the ring with a guy like Christian, and if you're Tony Khan, that Christian is going to do everything he can to make sure that Hobbs is presented in the light that he should be. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like Christian is not going to be more concerned about and that was an example. This whole match, it was like, dude, it was Hobbs got his offense in, bro. I mean, like Hobbs.
Did he ever?
Hobbs was tossing Christian around, dude. Like when it spilled to the outside. I mean, here's a great. I loved. Thank you for pulling this up because I was just like when the action was on the outside. That's where we really got to see Hobbs unleashed, and this is a great visual of just like the edge and the nastiness that Hobbs was bringing. It really legitimizes Hobbs as a threat, because it's one thing to be a guy who, gets these jobber squashes that we've seen him get, who obviously, carries himself like a challenge. But when you have him go toe to toe with a legit Hall of Famer and toss him around, I really, really think that that this was a coming out party for Hobbs. So very, very impressed by that performance that they had. But I want to put some emphasis on Christian. What they're gonna do here with this guy, it's already becoming obvious. Christian is really, even though he pulled off the W tonight, this is an example where someone can lose in action but look better. And that's something that AEW needs, because there's a lot of talent on this roster, Sean. And you can only have so many guys win. True. And when you have matchups where a guy can lose a match but still come out looking like $1 million, that goes a long way. You can't. I know that AEW tries to shy away from the distraction finishes and roll-ups, and that's something that we like. We don't like them having these false finishes and weak decision-making, but you got to have these, the ranking system in some way, shape, or form does have to have some legitimacy to it, in the sense that there has to be the viewer needs to understand where the guy falls in the landscape of AEW. Is he a top guy? Is he an up and comer? We need to see that, and that's not always gonna happen when someone wins a match. There are gonna be times in which some of your most character defining moments come from when you lose, right? I mean, that's an example of life. So I felt like this match was a home run in that, and it was an example of like leading into our main event. Why that's so important. To me, one of our biggest struggle with the Darby Allin championship run is everybody's getting in this 80 to 90%, 80 to 90% offense, man. It's like against Darby, right? They just dominate Darby throughout the match. And it's our lead writer Bonds has really struggled with, well, when that happens all the time, it weakens the importance of that, like the competitor who, if the same formula plays out, whether it's Jungle Boy or JD Drake, it's going to bother me as a viewer. And that was an example of, in the Christian match, I could see a loss playing a role that really helped the competitor shine. Now, and this was an example where I feel like I was so excited about Darby versus Jungle Boy because I felt like this was a match that could break the mold that we've gotten used to. Right. And that's where you get to really see Darby tested and pushed to showcase more offense. He had an opportunity to be in control a little bit more. This match felt like a 50-50 match of two equals, which was nice, rather than a match of, that was 90-10 to his opponent. That was my big thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly right. We agree that Darby matches are a 90% getting your butt whooped and then 10% comeback finish. This was great because more ground and pound, more methodical, not having to really use the weapons. Like they're seeing eye to eye right here. Jungle Boy is an outstanding wrestler. He is probably one of the more underrated wrestlers, and JR always says it. You will see gold around his waist. You will see gold around his waist, and we know it because he is just a workhorse. Like we talk about workhorses, in stables. He is one that has stood out time and time again every time he's in a singles match. He's very impressive. He surprises you a lot of times, like we did tonight. And he was a very believable person to potentially tap out Darby tonight. And Darby did for his credit, obviously Darby gets beat up a lot. We talk about being a crash test dummy a lot of times, but he did a great job selling Jungle Boy's strengths that were, appropriate to his size and appropriate to the holds and all that. So props to Darby. I think this was, you said it with one of Joey Janela match, but I think this is probably one of the better Darby matches we've seen in a long time. And the fans really got a treat for main event, back-to-back main events by Darby Allin, and then consistent after-match shenanigans with this whole feud, man. There's a lot of stuff going on, but for the match itself, I mean, we have an elite clean sweep, it seems like, for this match. And, typically the whole show, no knock on AEW, but sometimes those live shows cannot run as always as smooth as their tape shows, and this one ran really, really smooth. Props to them. All matches were great. They didn't run out of time. It was perfectly placed. I think the card flowed really well. This match was really, really a home run and great pairing. And we want to see more. We want to see more opponents against Darby that fit his methodical, slower ground and pound stuff, like Jungle Boy. Like we could see a Ricky Starks, Absolutely. I think that would be so much more. Absolutely, Ricky Starks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So what did you think of all this stuff? Like the match and then afterwards?
I want to jump in because, the more that I see what AEW is doing now, and now they're writing on the wall with where you can tell with the post-match stuff, I think AEW sees what we see, SPD. I think that, we're obviously diehard wrestling fans, but I get a lot of respect for Tony Khan, and I think that the team and AEW management sees what we see. That's why it's no coincidence that Darby's got, his title defenses, John Silver, Scorpio Sky.
Great match.
Now with Jungle Boy, he's starting to get put against guys who are more in his wheelhouse as far as, competitors that are presented as equals. We've seen some of those along the way where, I think, and this is no offense to the Machine Brian Cage, because I'm a huge advocate of his. I love what he can do, but the visual between him and Darby, that and it was a long feud between him and Darby, that David versus Goliath, it set a pattern that I felt like was putting Darby down the wrong path. I love Darby's, never say die, kind of that, like almost that masochist aspect of his character. But I worry about, that wearing thin and hurting his credibility long term. And I think that, the more that they have opportunities where he gets put in the ring with guys like this who push him and who allow him to show that he can go, the better. I think that, we see now Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky are back in the mix now. Scorpio lost that match, and he's still got sour grapes about that. And I think that Ethan Page is clearly showing this guy's got the look. He's got a lot of confidence. He can talk on the mic like as well as anybody. He's very confident on the mic. And he's kind of like one of those guys who's felt like a little bit of an outsider in the AEW landscape, right? I mean, he's new. He's a new signing. And he could be presented as a big deal. I mean, he hasn't had a lot of big matches on Dynamite yet where you get an opportunity to really tell, where is this guy falling in the AEW landscape? Is he a top guy? Is he a mid-card guy? Where is he? And I think that, when he gets this opportunity against Darby, we're going to really see that. I think in his wrestling style, he's going to have some size on Darby, but I think that it's also going to be a nice matchup where it's not going to be a Brian Cage versus Darby where he's just getting tossed around. Even the JD Drake match, Darby was just getting bodied. So I think it'll be really nice to see him go against somebody who's kind of like, an all-around good performer in the ring with all ego. I wonder where it's going to go. Lance Archer again got involved at the end and pushed those guys away, and that was fun to see. Lance, it feels inevitable, doesn't it, that he becomes he challenges Darby at some point? I mean, don't you feel like it's only a matter of time where he gets a title shot? It's got to happen, don't you feel like?
It's so hard to predict what's going on with Lance. One minute you think he's a foe of them, or Sting and Darby, and then the next it's a friend.
I know.
But, we kind of saw some rumors down the rumor mill, and, Miro's promo really quick about whoever's wearing gold, I'm coming for you.
Who do you think he challenges?
But, I mean, it would be fitting and appropriate, and I think best character direction if he challenges Darby and just demolishes him. You can't put him against. I don't think it makes any sense for him to go against Kenny and lose, because whoever Kenny defends, Kenny's not losing. So if he put in just a complete whooping on Darby and then takes the title, or if he faces Darby and puts a whooping and then someone like stops the match and just stops the beatdown because it's so bad. Darby is one to take. We talk about punishment, and Miro is one to dish it. So no better person to dish out punishment and take the punishment than Darby Allin and Miro. So maybe
it's a pipe dream for me too, dude. Like maybe it's just a pipe dream, but like he didn't specify gold. Like he just said, if you have gold, like I'm coming for it, man. I would love to see him go after the FTW title. I mean, you got a guy like Miro, that mentality that he has, for him to finally like call out like a Brian Cage and kind of say like, you don't even care about this anymore. Like, no wonder why the group is falling apart. I don't know. I just think that like, and for Miro, for Miro to have a dominant, impressive victory against somebody like a Darby Allin, that would go a long way in establishing his character, even in his credibility more. But I think that he's going to break Kip Sabian in half. I think he's going to chew him up and spit him out. I want to see Miro in a match with an equal. I want to see Miro as a big fella against another big dude. I want to see that. I want to see that battle of the hosses, and I want Miro to not back down from a big fella. I want that side of Miro to come out. I don't know. I think that we've seen Miro go toe-to-toe with some of the biggest, baddest dudes in the world and in the history of professional wrestling when we date back throughout his career. True. It would make sense for Miro to step his game up and go after, and call somebody out, man. I want that to happen sooner than later. I wonder who it could be. Again, Cage would be a great as far as size and athleticism. He and Miro are two big guys who have the motor. I would love to see that happen. And it would give Miro something to do. I mean, it would give Brian Cage something to pivot towards too. Obviously, I'm fantasy booking here. My opinion, sure. my opinion here, I think that like the Miro promo was exactly what it needed to be. I know that Bonds, I can't wait to read his article tomorrow because I know Bonds is going to be salivating at another example of pure hyped, pure angry Miro. Angry Miro is the best Miro.
Yes,
that is the best Miro. So I'm excited about that. I think that we're ready to see another championship contender emerge in the landscape of AEW. Right. And the aftermath, SPD, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why AEW continues to bring in those viewers, man. When you have a storyline where this one ended, you had a great championship match with Jungle Boy and Darby, who are two young superstars that are emerging. But then you have characters all interacting with that. I mean, you get Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. You get Lance Archer. You have Sting. I mean, there's so much there, dude. And that's so captivating as a viewer. Makes you want to come back for next week, right?
That is for sure. I mean, absolutely. We'll go over the next week's card in a second, but your top performer, let's talk about those real quick. So
okay,
I'm gonna pull the top performer. My top performer, man, it was yours last. Chris Jericho 2 weeks ago was yours, but I can't stop smiling when he gets on the mic, and I can't, like I said earlier, man, the passion that he delivered, his promo, the fire. I am all team Inner Circle right now. They have me hook, line, and sunk because of just the stuff that we've been seeing out of them. Jericho put in an awesome match last week, awesome promo this week. He has me convincing and smiling, and no one else makes me laugh out loud like he does, literally on Dynamite. So he was a home run win for me for the top performer.
Well, when Blood and Guts happens, man, I'll wear my FTR shirt or my MJF shirt, and
right,
you
I'll
wear
get my
your Inner Circle shirt. Yeah, and we'll go at it back and forth here. The Dukes of Dynamite will duke it out at Blood and Guts. That one's gonna be a lot of fun. Jericho continues to deliver on the mic, and he's really showing, as you talked about, he's the godfather of the Inner Circle, the leader he leads by example with his group, and he's really engaged in probably the most exciting, funny, captivating feud in AEW right now. So I can't blame you for that one. That's a great pick by you. Mine goes to Hikaru Shida. We talked at length how refreshing it was to see the champion back fighting in a match like this. I felt like it was a great reminder and showcase as to why Shida is the champ. Incredibly hard-hitting matchup, and with a competitor that I felt was a great fit for her. And I think that this was something that was much needed in the landscape of the women's division. The champ to come back out emphatically to showcase why she is the champ. It was a great showing for Shida, and I'm now that I see who the next challenger is going to be, I'm incredibly geeked out about what's in store for Shida down the road. Shida versus Britt Baker is going to be nuts, great. Man. That's going to be nuts, man. So I can't wait for that one. Shida really, to me, was a welcome addition to this week's show and absolutely killed it in that match with Ty Conti.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I really, really enjoyed that segment for sure, or that match.
Let's get into next week's show, man, because next week's show is going to be, as always, jam-packed.
Yeah.
We get to see Cage versus Page I can't wait for that. Let's talk it through, brother. Pinnacle versus Inner Circle parlay.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? Have they given us any hints as to what that means and what we can guess to see next week?
Yeah, just they're going to be setting the ground rules for Blood and Guts in 2 weeks. When he said when a war happens, the two leaders or two groups they set the parlay, so it's a fair fight relatively, or you can just set the ground rules. So they are going to be in the ring together. All hell is going to break loose. Something's going to happen for sure. So I can't wait. Just any time of this is a pure gold segment. So I'm really excited for this one.
Bro, I mean, had Hangman Adam Page going against Brian Cage, kind of like, to me, after Starks had his opportunity tonight, man, this is going to be a must-watch match for me. As a fan. Yeah. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. Brian Cage, this dude is just a rare. He's a rarity in professional wrestling. The guy is just, if you could build the perfect wrestler, this guy is it. I mean, strength, size, athleticism, power. We talk about the control, how safe his power is. When you put him in the ring against Adam Page, you're trying to legitimize your number one contender. You got him going against a guy like Brian Cage. If he could put down Swolverine, if he could put down the Machine, Hangman Adam Page is going to really get some people talking going into where we are with him going in against needing a title shot. People are going to be demanding for Hangman Adam Page to get that title shot because he's going to have some big wins under his belt if he can pull off a big one over Brian Cage, man.
No doubt, definitely.
No doubt.
And now we're seeing Penta move on to the next victim of the best friends in Orange Cassidy. We're going to see Orange Cassidy back in the ring. He has had kind of a light 21 of in-ring wrestling.
Yeah.
Hopefully no injuries or anything like that. But so one-on-one Orange Cassidy, Penta L0M. Always great to see Penta. I'm always a huge fan of him. I was more of a Penta fan before Phoenix, but Phoenix has skyrocketed for me, man. I'm the biggest Phoenix mark for sure. I can't wait for Orange Cassidy. I think he'll take the win so they can kind of trade wins, unless Penta's going to just pluck them out.
He's going to start breaking our – yeah.
So
I like it. I like the progression of that story.
Yeah.
And really – Chris Statlander, who made her re-debut with the Best Friends, she gets an opportunity to go against Penelope Ford, who has to be chomping at the bit to get some revenge on Chris after getting some plexiglass to the face.
Oh my gosh, that was so brutal.
I mean, when you watch that one in slow motion, she took that one, she ate it. So Penelope Ford's going to want to get a little offense in on Chris here. She's going to be chomping at the bit to rub Chris's nose in it a little bit, maybe bust her in the face a little bit. Going to be an interesting match, man. And with honestly, with Orange Cassidy and Statlander on the card, the Best Friends are well represented, really building towards what I see as potential big run for those guys moving forward.
Yeah, like I said before, the hottest trio in wrestling, early on, and would be a perfect fit to have if they do ever debut the trios champion. Would they be the Best Friends to have that on them? A nice baby face to really give the people what they want.
Got to.
So, Young Bucks versus Matt and Mike Sydal. I'm huge Sydal brothers fans. I think they're really impressive in the ring. So these two clashes are pretty similar styles. With the high flying, innovative stuff. So I can't wait for this. I know we've seen them share the ring before a little bit, but this should be another one of those Young Bucks open the card with a banger match. I put 5 on here twice, but I meant to put 6 for the last one. But
it's all good, man.
5 time.
Yeah. 5 time.
And then, just looking at this card, I don't even know what could main event. You could have this Nightmare Family versus the Factory main event because the feud is so hot, and just to really put the trust in this. So, yeah. Wow,
you're right, man. For talk about you said it once, you'll say it again, man. When you talk about investing and believing in that that homegrown talent, what a showcase that would be, man. What a showcase to have the Nightmare Family and the Factory in the main event next week's show. Certainly, I think well deserving given how intense that rivalry is. That's going to be a lot of fun, man. And again, the more we get to see of those youngsters in the factory, the more we get to see of that, the better, in my opinion. I'm really in on what they have in that group. I think that QT's got a lineup of killers in that one. This is gonna be a good show next week, man. And again,
really is. Yeah.
Some of those interesting matchups, SPD. You're not like, they have the Young Bucks on this show, but really doing a nice job of fleshing out the overall roster, giving other people opportunities, building stories, getting us fans involved and captivated by all sorts of great storylines in the landscape of AEW. Really geeking out over next week's show, brother. That said, we're going to touch base again on Friday for Friday Night Flights and Fights. Make sure that you check in that. And tomorrow, Bonds is going to have his column up. You're definitely going to want to read that. Bonds is the third wheel of this one. He rolls with us through thick and thin. He's our head writer. My man absolutely comes through. And that column is one of the I've been reading stuff since I was, a teenager online, right? Reading recaps of stuff. Yeah. Bonds' column is every bit as good as anywhere you'll find anywhere else on the net. This kid knows what he's talking about. Make sure you check us out on AEW Dynamite download.com. SPD, I know you're going to be getting some good clips up on Instagram throughout the week, doing the grind like you do, my friend. Fans, thank you so much for joining us out there. AEW Nation, AEW family, we love y'all. Pushing it best we can to make sure you guys have a place to come to talk positively about the company that we love.
That's right.
We'll see you again on Friday, everybody.
See you guys, and good night.